Welcome back to part 5 of the bobbing compound refining series. These are all the solutions that came from that process that we just concluded here. This is our waste solution that has a little bit of platinum group metals in it. This is the nitric boil, and this is the nitric boil from part 1. There's some solids down on the bottom of here that we're going to try to get that out of there and see if there might be some gold in those solids. This is the piranha solution experiment that we did, and I've got some solids down in the bottom of here. I'm going to take a look at those. And then last but not least is the refining residue. This is the solids that I set aside and saved, and maybe take a look at getting some more gold out of these solids. The first solution we'll deal with is this waste solution that may contain a little bit of platinum group metals. And this is my stock pot, and it is full of copper in solution, plus there's pieces of metallic copper in here, and we'll cement the traces of precious metals out of this solution onto the pieces of copper that are in our stock pot. But first we need to make room in here, so what I'll do is I've got a waste treatment bucket down here. This thing is full of pieces of angle iron, and what I do is I pour the copper solution off into this bucket, and the copper cements out on those pieces of iron. So what we're going to do is we're going to siphon off the solution from our stock pot down into our waste treatment bucket. Here we go. We're going to siphon off this copper solution out of my stock pot. All the precious metals will be out of here now because they've cemented out on the copper. We're just going to siphon off this copper solution down here into my waste treatment bucket, and what will happen is the copper will come out of the solution onto these pieces of angle iron down here in my waste treatment bucket. This is my silver refining stock pot, and I add all of my silver refining waste solutions. It's going to be copper nitrate. This bucket is full of copper also. Any remaining precious metals in this blue liquid will cement out on to the copper in there and then get recovered later on. But this blue liquid here is waste, so I'm going to add this to my waste treatment bucket, and all that copper will cement out onto those pieces of iron in my waste treatment bucket. I just keep this covered up and pushed out of the way, and what we'll do now is we'll take this and set this outdoors and bubble some air through it to create some movement and cement that copper out onto those pieces of angle iron. Now we'll just set this out here, and I've got an air bubbler tube. I bubble some air through it to create movement. Got a lid. We stick the bubbler down in there and just let this react probably for 4 or 5 days until all that copper has cemented out on the iron. This is my second stock pot, and what I do is I take this in. Now that all the precious metals are cemented out, it's just going to be copper in solution. I'm going to take this in and allow this to settle. Now we'll just let stock pot number 2 settle, and then once all the solids have settled in here, we'll transfer this into the waste treatment bucket. Here's a look down inside of stock pot. You can see there's some copper wire that's been consumed by the reaction, and there's some mud down on the bottom, and that will be precious metals that have cemented out on these pieces of copper in here. And what we'll do now, I'll add some more copper to this because that's almost fully consumed. It's just copper wire that I have. Just add it right into the stock pot. Now we'll add the waste from the jeweler's bobbing compound refining into here. You can see there's some solids down on the bottom of this beaker. That might be gold back there. Now what we'll do is we'll take this stock pot and set it outdoors and bubble some air through it. Insert the bubbler tube. And I've got a cover, and I'll just cover this up and let this react. And then I've got another cover that I put over the top of that to keep the rain off of it. Now what we'll do is add a little aqua regia to this solid black material down in the bottom of this beaker. Not sure what that is. It might just be residue from the jeweler's scrap and not precious metals at all, but I'll add some hydrochloric acid. And just a word about this hydrochloric acid. I've been buying this technical grade hardware store hydrochloric acid from the hardware store for 12 years now, and it's always been a nice colorless white solution, and this bottle had a yellow tint to it. Not sure what that means, but I don't think it's going to hurt our refining processes. Alright, let's go ahead and add a little bit of nitrate to this to form aqua regia, and see if we can put any of that material in solution. Add a little bit of heat. Someone had asked about the covers that I keep over these solutions, and their purpose is twofold. Number one, it acts as a reflux, condenses and then drops back down into the solution. And number two, it keeps stuff from falling down into the beaker while I've got it up on the heat. I will take this solution, collect it into this clean beaker down here. Kind of anxious to see what we got in here. Let's get a piece of filter paper, get some of this solution on it. Let's do a stannous test. There we go. We got a little bit of a brown stain going on. precious metals in that solution. This is the stannous test that we just did. What I've got is a known concentration of gold in the sample bottle here. These are called Wheaton drip tip bottles. And what we'll do is use some of this known concentration of gold, get it on a piece of filter paper, and test it with some stannous to test our stannous, make sure our stannous is indicating correctly. And there's what 1 gram per liter concentration of gold looks like. So this is our test that we just took out of this beaker. If you compare the two, you'll see that we have less than 1 gram per liter concentration in this beaker. I'll cover this one up. We'll save it. It's got a little precious metals in solution. But now what we'll do is, I've got this beaker that we just cleaned out with aqua regia. Now what I'll do is add our solids back in here. I don't expect a whole lot from this solid material, but we'll give it a good shot here and try to see if we can get some more metal pulled out of these solids. Look at that stuff, man. Man, that stuff is just, it sticks to everything. It's very uncooperative. Reminds me of mucus. Alright, I finally got it all out of there. It's just very inconvenient stuff to work with. This is the lid. This is the hydrochloric acid. It's always been a nice colorless liquid, but this batch here that I just bought recently, like you can see, has a yellow color to it. We're going to add a little bit more hydrochloric acid into this beaker. Stuff, it's like mucus. It just sticks to everything that it touches. Alright, what we'll do now is add some nitric acid to this. Nitric acid. I tried this technical grade nitric acid from Doodah Diesel. It was $200 for 4 2.5 liter bottles. I don't like the way it pours. The liquid tends to drip back down the neck of the bottle as you pour it. I'm going to add a little bit of this nitric acid in here. Let's get in here and stir this up a little bit if we can. My goodness, it's very thick and gooey. I don't know how to describe it. It's just not easy stuff to work with. I'm going to tell you that right now. Alright, let's cover this up. And we'll set this up on the heat and apply some low heat to this. See if we can extract anything out of there. I've had this on boiling in the aqua regia now since 8 a.m. The time right now is 6 p.m. I did add a little more hydrochloric acid halfway through this. Get down in here and get a little bit on our filter paper. It's going to be kind of hard to tell because of the darkness of the fluid. Let's get a stannous test and see what happens. Oh yeah, I can see where there was a reaction there. And we've definitely pulled some more gold out of those solids. So now what we'll do is just turn the heat off on this. I'm going to let this cool down and let it settle out. And then we'll get in there and draw off the liquid and see if we can pull some more gold out of that solution. I've allowed this to cool and settle completely. Let's pull this down. And what we'll do is I'm going to get in here and get us another little sample on a piece of filter paper. And what we'll do is test this now with stannous chloride. See if we've got any precious metals in solution. Alright, that's a fairly dark stain right there, which indicates that we've got some precious metals in solution. Here you can see the clarified solution that is settled on top of the solids. So now what we'll do, I've got my vacuum bottle set up. I'm going to reach in here and vacuum this solution off. I've got a fair amount of liquid here that's going to have precious metals in it. We'll set this aside. Let's set up a filter flask and see if we can pull a little bit more of this solution out of these solids here. I'm going to begin by adding a filter paper to our funnel. I've got another specially folded filter that we'll add in here. That first one will form a floor that will help support the specially folded filter so that it doesn't fail. Now we'll start adding these solids in. Make sure that filter's seated. We'll try to pull a little bit of the liquid off of these solids. Let's move this out of the way now. I'm going to move this over onto our filter table. Now we'll try to filter this out a little and get some of the solids out of this solution that we just pulled off. This don't look too bad, but there's some junk in here. Let's go ahead and filter this now. The solution's actually more cloudy now that I've poured it through the filter. I've got this pulled through the filter. That's what our filter looks like. Set this solution off to the side now. Here's a beaker that has some silver in it and some copper. And I've got a clean beaker here. I've got a piece of copper in here that I used to cement this silver out down at the bottom of this beaker. And what we'll do now is transfer it into this clean beaker. There's another one in here. All right, we got 2 pieces of copper. Set them both down into our clean beaker. Get this out of the way. Get this piranha solution out of the way for a second. And now what we'll do is pull down these solutions. These are from the nitric acid boils in the first video of the series. I'm just going to add this right on into this copper now. There is going to be some solids down on the bottom of here. A little bit of it's getting poured over. That's okay. It'll just contaminate our silver that cements out in here. Add this in now. Again, this solution here will have a little bit of platinum group metals in it and some silver. And what I'll do is I'll cover this up and set it under a container outdoors, because it will produce some fumes. But you can see the silver starting to come out of solution on those pieces of copper in there. Let me get this out of the way. Now what we'll do is try to collect these solids in a filtered paper. Let's see if we can get some more of this solution out of this beaker in the back. Trap these solids in this filter. Now we'll move this back here out of the way. That solution's going to have a little bit of silver in it. So now what we're going to try to do, this solution is still cloudy. Now that we've got this filter loaded up, we're going to try pouring it through the same filter a second time. Try pouring this back through the same filter a second time. All right, that cleared our solution up nicely for us. Pouring it back through the same filter a second time, and it pulled through quickly. Let's see if we can get the rest of these solids down into this That's like concrete in there, man. Like concrete. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. I'm just going to get what we can poured off into here. Let's go ahead and start consolidating these solutions. This is the one that we dissolved out of that beaker at the beginning of the video. Let's get this solution now transferred into our beaker. There's the solids. That'll go in my paper storage. We'll add this to our beaker here. Let's pull this one up and rinse this filter down with some distilled water. See if we can help this along a little bit. That's from our silver solution, the mud that was in the bottom of our silver solutions. I think what we'll do is put this funnel on a separate flask. I can do this without making a mess. This is our solution. It's going to have our gold in it. We'll continue to pull this liquid off of these solids, and then I'll just add this to the stock pot. I'll take this over here now, and I've got the filter set up that we pulled this solution through. So what we'll try to do is, there's some solids in here, try to pull this solution through this loaded up filter and see if we can get it to clear up for us. It's got a little bit of solids down in the bottom of it through this filter. See if we can get it to clear up. Pulling through that filter for us pretty good. I'm going to move this solution out of the way, and what we'll do is grab this piranha solution up here, and I'm going to try to get this stuff poured off into here. I don't want to commingle this solution here with the rest of my waste. Some of it's going to get poured off, I can see. Those solids might contain some precious metals, but I want to get it away from the sulfuric acid in that piranha solution. Now what I'll do is rinse this, I guess, with some water, distilled water. That might have some metal in it, I'm not sure. But I want to get all the sulfuric acid rinsed off of there before we try to filter it. Otherwise it'll eat a filter paper up. We'll set this back up out of the way. Let us put some hydrochloric acid into this beaker with these solids. Let's add this funnel that we've been filtering off this silver solution. We'll add that solution to the beaker that's out under our rain cover. This has got a little bit of liquid still in it, but I'm not concerned about it. Put that in here with these solids. Get this out of here successfully. Boom. Add a little bit of heat. And I've got some nitric acid. See if we can dissolve some of this stuff in here with some aqua regia. It might contain gold. Not sure. Let's pull this down off the heat. Let it cool down a little bit. See if we got any gold in solution here. Gonna stand this test. Oh yeah, got a little gold in solution. Alright, I've let this cool down a little bit. What we're gonna do is add this solution here that we filtered to our consolidation beaker. Cleared it up pretty good for us. Let's filter this solution. It's kind of warm, but it's not real hot. But it could cause this filter paper to fail, so hope this doesn't take 100 years to pull through this filter. I think we've got just about all of the gold recovered out of these remnants from the Bobby Compound refining series. We'll add this to our main beaker now. That's good. Now what we'll do is we're going to pull up some SMB here. We're going to add some sodium metabisulfite and precipitate out pure gold out of here. Now if we get more than a gram and a half out of here, I am going to be surprised. Although there could be more than that because the yield was a little bit low from what I was expecting in the first 4 parts. Let's go ahead and cover this up and let this sit for a few minutes and see what's going to happen here. Yeah, it never fails. When it's most important, I forget to test with Stannis. I've already added the SMB in there. Let's see if we got gold in solution still or not. Yes, we do. That's very strange that we're not getting the gold to come out of solution. Clearly have metal in solution from that Stannis test. Let's add a little bit more of the SMB. Stir this up. Very weird reaction going on here. Let's see if we still got gold in solution or any metal. Yes, we do. Still indicating gold in solution. Well, I thought I was going to be able to show some metal this evening and get this video published, but this is not going to cooperate with us. Let's add a little bit more SMB in here. I do see something starting to come out of solution there. Very strange. Now I got a head of white foam up there. That might be an indication of something positive. Here's some copper in my waste treatment bucket that is cemented out onto those pieces of iron in there. What we're going to do now is let's take a look at the gold that's settled out on the bottom of our beaker. It finally came down and settled out. I need to pour off the waste out of this beaker that's sitting on top of the gold into my stock pot. But first, what we're going to have to do is siphon the liquid out of this stock pot. It's been allowed to settle down into my waste treatment bucket. Now I've got some room in the stock pot here. Those are pieces of copper in there. We'll pour this solution off into our stock pot. Now let's double check, make sure everything's out of here with Stannis first before we get all the solution poured off into the stock pot. There you can see all the gold has been precipitated. Yeah, looks like a fairly decent amount of gold. Maybe a gram and a half like I was expecting. I'm going to rinse this with a little hydrochloric acid. Alright, there's our metal. I did bring in the silver solution. You can see that the silver is coming out on the bottom down here. So now what we'll do is, this is the little bit of silver solution that we filtered off. I'm going to add this right on in here now, and I'll set this back outdoors once I get it added to our silver jar here. It's going to be heavily contaminated with platinum group metals. Let me get this out of the way and set this back outdoors. Let's get our metal down into a little crucible here. Like I said, I'll be very surprised if we have more than a gram or gram and a half of metal. Alright, let's take this over. Let's go ahead and start melting this up now. I think we got all the flux off of there. Let's take this in now. Oh yeah, it's a nice little bead of gold. I'm going to take this in, rinse it off, get that weak sulfuric acid solution off of there. Alright, I think we've got all that junk rinsed off of there now. Let's see what kind of metal we're looking at here. It's going to be gold. It's going to have platinum group metals in with it. But that's okay. Got us some more gold for the jeweler. Here's our little bead of pure gold that we recovered from the waste from the bobbing compound refining series. I said I'd be surprised if it was more than a gram or a gram and a half. Looky there. We got 3 grams out of that waste. And so it was worth the effort, I believe, to go ahead and do this. It's going to have some platinum group metals in with it. That's okay. So here's the bar that we recovered in the 4-part series. And that weighs 5.3. And then, so we got 18.3 grams, which I had estimated between 16 to 18. So we got a little bit more than I was expecting. I'll take this down and square up with the jeweler. And this will conclude part 5 of the bobbing compound refining series of videos. Thank you for watching.